The Fitness Gram Pacer test is a multi-stage aerobic capacity test that progressively gets more difficult as it continues. The 20-meter pacer test will begin in 30 seconds. Line up at the start. The running speed starts slowly, but gets faster each minute after you hear this signal. A single lap should be completed each time you hear this sound. Remember to run in a straight line, and run as long as possible. Your test is over. Remember to run in a straight line. Your test is over.
And we're back. Gym Class Podcast, episode 6. It's already episode 6. I've been doing this over a month already. I am self-conscious about how I sound right now. I think I sound weird. I probably sound bad because, listen, I recorded this awesome conversation with my good friend Jay Yoder Oops, I just muted myself. I was going to record the intro and everything, and then I forgot to, so now I'm recording the intro on this cheap old laptop because I don't have access to my microphone and stuff. So I'm just going to get right into it, okay? Jay and I talked for a long time. This is a long one, but it was great. I think you're going to love it. We talked about so many things. We talked about autism because he's an expert. He has a degree, studied autism. He's got a daughter who's hilarious, and she's on the spectrum. He has 2 daughters, actually. And we talked about that. We talked about Phys Ed. Okay, Jay teaches Latin. He's not a PE teacher, but I got him to think like a PE teacher. We talked about this game that he made up based on his life. We talked about comedy because we're both of us are board teachers, comedians. That's how we met on the board teachers comedy tour. A lot of people always ask me questions about my comedy career. How did I get started? Blah blah blah. This is what you want to listen to, guys, because he gives a lot of great advice. He's a teacher comedian as well. So again, you're gonna love this conversation. So without further ado, my good friend Jay Yoder. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there he is, Jay Yoder, my fellow teacher comedian. First met on the Board Teachers Comedy Tour. Jay, how was your day? You taught today. We both did a full day of teaching, and now we're here doing this extra stuff. So how was your day?
Actually, really good. I've been very... I didn't say that the last couple of years. I've had a rough couple goes, but this year, for whatever reason, my classes are great. I'm just at the middle school. I'm not split between different buildings, so I don't have that travel aspect that sometimes can be really draining on a day. And I'm not at the high school. The high school for us, that's where I was last year. They had the cell phone policy was you had to put it in one of those shoe cubbies that drapes over a door kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they don't do, half the time they're putting a fake phone in there or they pretend they don't have one. Now I'm playing
These kids
CSI
have burner
Horizon.
phones at 15 years old. They got burner phones.
Yeah, or they'll tell you that, I don't have my phone today. I'm like, first of all, no, I don't believe you.
No,
and second,
empty your pockets.
Frisk you? What, you know what I mean? It's just... So at what point do I start teaching? Because now it's 10 minutes into the class. So it's just, I hated that aspect of it. And then if they went to the bathroom, I had to make sure I was watching that they didn't walk by and take their phone out. It was like riding a bull for 45 minutes.
So how do you feel about, I just talked about this in my last episode. I was kind of ranting about it, and I posted a clip on Instagram. It's getting a lot of, comments from both sides. I'm hearing from students who, wish they could have their phones out at lunch and stuff. How do you feel about these districts and sometimes entire states that are banning phones altogether, during the school day? Is that the right move, or should we find a compromise?
I'm 100% behind it. I like it. I mean, I don't mind if there was a lunch period and they want to do that because that's where a lot of their world socially exists. And, for some kids, it could be a nice little escape or, I know my daughter who's autistic, that could be something that could help her regulate to get prepared for the second part of her day. So, I'm cool with that. The classroom, though, I don't want it anywhere near the classroom. I don't want this to be a part of what I do. We do too many other things. You're telling me I got to have bell-to-bell rigor and I got to play CSI Verizon? No, it's just too many things. So anything to keep it out of the 45 minutes that they're with me and I don't have to police it and be the bad guy, that's what I'm behind, because I want to get teaching.
You mentioned that your daughter's artistic, and I love her videos, by the way. The videos that you make with your daughter are hilarious. Everybody should go follow Jay on Instagram and TikTok. we'll get into that more. But like anytime she makes a cameo appearance, or you do, I think recently you posted like an improvised song with her or
Yes,
something.
I did that.
Do you prep
TLC's
them at all?
waterfall.
Because you do it. I think you do it with both your kids. Do you prep them at all, or you just boom, turn on
No,
the camera
no,
and
I
they're
don't
just
prep
on?
her at all. Because I want to see. That's what I love about her. Like, I love the way her brain processes things, and so obviously a lot of it's like '90s nostalgia from our era. So like, even if she was neurotypical, she would have no frame of reference unless she had gone down an I love the '90s rabbit hole. That she wouldn't know it, but it's just fun to watch how her brain. I did like one time. I did like my baloney has a first name, and she was like Frank, and I'm like that's amazing. Like it
It's
just
actually a
or
good
the,
baloney name. That's perfect.
it is a solid baloney name,
Yeah.
and my favorite one was I did if all of your because it was started with the trend where they were doing like the toxic parenting stuff, like I'll give you something too, and then the kid had to like finish the phrase. So I was like, oh, that would be fun, and I did the one where it was like if all your friends jumped off a bridge, and she said they would fall and die.
It's just
I was like,
the bluntness.
you're not wrong. Like that. That's her lane of just super literal, super like, and a lot of the stuff in my stand up act is kind of playing off of the situations because
Yeah.
at first I was so embarrassed. You're so embarrassed of what she might say, and now I'm like, oh, this is great. Like it's hysterical. It's like. Yeah, so no, I love those videos. I get a lot of compliments on them, and she loves making them with me. So it's kind of like this fun little thing we do when we're in the car together.
Yeah, she's brilliant. I think she has a strong future as a social media comedy influencer slash creator. But listen, the news has been hot lately. Do you feel bad about taking a bottle of Tylenol every week? When you were trying to is there guilt from all the Tylenol? Because I know you were big on just popping Tylenol all the time.
Yeah, I was
Tell
a
me about
big
that.
Yeah, I kept putting in my wife's breakfast as prenatal. So I think now we have the Autism Be Gone that's coming out next week, I think. So that'll be
Oh
good.
God, yeah.
But
Little did you know.
Really hot. I was really hot about all of the announcements because it's like, listen, you're taking away. I understand, but people are saying, oh, the research. I'm like, listen, the research has been there. That stuff's there. I think we're taking that rhetoric is dangerous to women, and it's going to take away focus from the fact that we should be supporting autistic individuals and adults. Let's talk about the unemployment rate of adults. That shouldn't be that way. We should be putting funding into teaching workplaces how they can, help coach these to leverage the power of the mind of like people like Alicia. But the other day we went to the library yesterday. They had somebody working there that I could tell was autistic because he was like stimming through the back room of the library. He didn't bother anybody. He was just putting the books on the shelf, and then all of a sudden he would like skip through the back of the library, make some like vocalizations like echolalia. Nobody raised an eyebrow, didn't bother anybody. And it's like if you have more businesses that are willing to roll with the punches, I'll bet he puts those books away so well and does an amazing job. And we need to be talking about that, not talking about like women should be doing and like, it's a distraction. It's a distraction because we all know what else that they don't want us thinking about that they're not talking about.
Yeah, I heard the actual cause for autism is hidden somewhere in the Epstein files. I heard that somewhere. But for real though, like people, you can tell me if I'm off base here because you're the expert. You literally have an advanced degree focusing on autism studies. You have your daughter who you've raised to be a genius so far. People think of autism as a disability, but in so many cases, it's not. Like it's not really. It's more just their brains are wired differently. It's differently abled, but they're not necessarily disabled if we're able to work with them and understand them. Am I totally off base there, or is that?
Yeah, no, you're right. The neurological piece of it is that I joke in my act a lot of times that like I think people are jealous because she sees the world in a state the rest of us take drugs to visit. Like she just
I remember that joke. That's a good one.
That like she has this thing where she can just see these people are going thousands of dollars to Peru to have ayahuasca for what she calls Wednesday morning. So it's like. I think like it's just so beautiful the way that her brain works and how organized. Last night we went to book bingo at the local library, and she was like taking all the little chips to put the things and organizing them out, putting them out by color. It looked like a beautiful rainbow on the table.
Yeah.
Just things she would naturally do. She volunteers every year at the local fair, and like she loves the bottle cap game where they toss the little rings. She's organizing the rings. Like she just like her brain is so wired for that it's like some of those things we could really harness and are great.
Yes, and those are marketable skills. And someday she could very well make a lot of money and take care of you when you're older.
That's right.
You know?
But if I want to have a back and forth conversation, she's not my girl. Like it's very. She's
Okay.
got to be taught those skills, the skills that you and I took for granted on making friends on a playground, having a back and forth conversation. Those are skills that she needs to be taught, like we needed to be taught Pythagorean
Yeah.
theorem. So, like, it just doesn't occur to her the social aspect of things, or to not say something when she sees somebody that has some difference. She immediately goes up and wants to know everything about them in a curious way. It's like that's the beauty
That's
of
kind
it.
of endearing, you know?
Like, we don't wonder anymore. I feel like a lot of kids, like, we don't get curious. And her brain is just naturally wired to want to know the world around her. So, I mean, it's a beautiful thing, but are there meltdowns? Are there things that, could derail some things that I could imagine employers would suffer? Yeah, but at the same time, she's learning coping strategies. She's doing really great. I couldn't imagine how much she's grown. She's going to be 12 years old soon. And, she didn't talk till she was almost 6. So, like, she just keeps breaking the ceiling. So it's just, we're done putting limits. We're, like, just excited to see her grow into her potential. And, I don't want any of that to be taken away to say, oh, we could have prevented it. Like, first of all, my wife didn't take any Tylenol. My name's Amish. Like, according to Trump, like, she should not have autism because I got some Amish in me. So I don't want to take away from it. I don't want people to think this was something that could have been prevented or that there's a cure for it. I don't want people to get misled to that. I want us to learn how to support people because, they're part of this world too. And, we should get to know them a little bit better.
That is important. And that's why like, I have no problem, veering. This is not necessarily related to physical education gym class podcast, but at the same time it is, because we have students just like Alicia in our classrooms. And one of the comments this is the last, I think probably maybe the last, I don't know. We're keeping this open-ended, Jay. Who knows? Maybe we'll spend a whole hour talking about this, folks. Buckle up. Okay. No, but, one of the arguments that I see from people is, well, at least they're doing something. At least they're researching it. And I'm like, no, they've been researched. Like, it's not an issue of, oh, they've just been throwing their hands in the air going, I don't know what's going on with these kids. Like, it's been researched. And what we know is, like, everything you've just said, like, these kids may need a little extra help in certain areas, but at the end of the day, their brains are just wired differently. They have just as much potential, sometimes in some cases even more than the rest of us. So, like, what do you say to those people who are like, well, at least they're doing something?
So here's the problem: is they're taking us backwards, because if you think about it, people say, "Oh, there was no autism back in the day," and it's like, no, that's not true. The people who maybe had more profound autism or things like that were being sent away and out of society. Those families weren't taking that kid to the cookout. They weren't taking the kid. Alicia's kindergarten teacher is a wonderful woman. We had some issues because Alicia was struggling, and this was like right before COVID, and she did a lot of transitions. And so I went and said, you know what, I work in the district. I'm not going to send this. I could feel the emails had tension. So I'm like, you know what, let's go do a sit down. I sat in that tiny little uncomfortable chair at that tiny little table, and we talked it out. And in the middle of talking it out, she looked at me and she said, this isn't my first rodeo. And I said, well, it's mine. And said, I'm trying to make sense of all this. And then we kind of had this moment where I was vulnerable. Then she returned the vulnerability by saying that her son had autism, and he was much older at this point.
Oh, okay.
And she said, I never took him out a lot, because she knows that we're taking Alicia everywhere. We have her in all these things. And she's like, I kind of sheltered him. And then she looked at me and she's like, I've never said that out loud before. And like, because I think it was a perfect thing of like, there was autism. You just weren't seeing it because we were pushing these kids into separate schools or into separate situations, or they weren't leaving their house. And now all of a sudden we're like, oh, well, they're we've learned how to like see this. So it's not like the numbers are different. When he was given all those numbers, it's like, well, we're seeing it more. We're screening for it more. There's a bigger diagnosis of like things that fit into the spectrum. So since 1911, when Hopkins and we started kind of seeing those first cases, we've just grown a lot in the last 100 years, which is what you would expect. So of course the numbers are going to be bigger because we're seeing it more now. It's not that
Right.
that Tylenol came around in like 1955. It was first prescription only, and it was for children. So it wasn't until the 60s that it was over the counter. So like all of that stuff is distraction. So I feel like we're getting to a place where we're trying to push the people back to what it was back in the day. Oh, we don't want them at the picnic because they're gonna make weird noises and grandma's gonna get upset. And I don't want us going back there. We're done. The world's theirs just like it's ours, and so we need to be focused all of that attention on how can we support them, how can we all learn how to be more inclusive. And it's not a hard thing to do. It's really not. It just takes education. But right now, the rhetoric is such that it's pushing us back to kind of segregating. And I think that is a terrible idea or invalidating.
That's never the answer.
So that's my beef right now, is that we're getting away from potentially losing funding for programs that are working, or not focused on programs and funding because we're too busy recreating the wheel with research that we already know exists and have already had it. So people are getting all granular. If you look at the comment section, they're all getting granular about population sizes and bias. And I'm like, all of a sudden you're a statistics major? Stop it, Sally. Like, let's let the scientists be scientists, and they're not RFK and they're not Trump.
So at the end of the day, folks, listen to your doctor. Okay, don't throw away your Tylenol. Listen to the doctor. Don't listen to politicians or podcasters. Don't even listen to us, y'all. Actually, you should listen to Jay. Listen to Jay. Don't listen to me. Listen to the experts, all right? And just because somebody is a politician doesn't necessarily mean they're an expert.
And the last thing I'll say on it is, if you know somebody with autism, you only know one person with autism. So
I've heard that before, and that's absolutely true.
Is different too. So even, I even tread lightly on calling myself an expert, but I have lived experience and I have academic experience, and I'm willing to share that, and I'm willing to white knight the comment section if I see people bullying people or getting confused, and, I'm happy to help, bring some sanity to it.
You're willing to white knight. You're going to grab your Amish sword and just charge in there on your horse.
Yeah, I'm going to Harvey Dent this thing, whatever. I'll be the new DA of Gotham by the end of this.
All right. So you teach Latin. How long? By the way, how long have you been teaching?
This is my 21st year of teaching.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm actually at the school I student taught at too, so I've been at the same school for 21. I've taught at all 7. I've taught elementary level. We used to do an exploratory where they got like a little buffet of all we offer so that they could make a more educated decision by the time they got to middle school.
That's really cool. That's a good
favorite.
Yeah, I think that's something that I think is kind of, it seems like, at least where I am in Illinois, it seems like foreign language in schools is kind of being pushed aside. And I think that's the wrong move. I mean, when I was in middle school, we also got like a little, very small sampler. I don't even remember if it was an entire class, but like we got to learn a little bit of Spanish, a little bit of French, a little bit of German. And, when I got to high school, I took 2 years of Spanish and I, stopped, which was a stupid move because I now teach in a school where so many of the kids speak Spanish. I just wish I would have taken Spanish 3 instead of graphic design because I'm not doing anything with that. But again,
unless you're using it, I was joking. I did a keynote this past weekend at a conference in Maryland for a bunch of early childhood educators, and half the room spoke Spanish because I could hear them as the sessions were coming in, and they're all speaking. So like I broke into Spanish and part of my thing and was just talking to them or talked to a few aside, and I was so grateful, and they're like wondering like, oh, how does a guy that looks like this speak Spanish? That's crazy. And I joked with them that, well, it first started because I went on a cruise when I was 15, and there were like 40 girls from Panama on this cruise that were my age, some rich girls quinceañera that brought 40 of her closest friends. And that was the first time like I could, it was like I've seen all these other guys that look like the future cast of Jersey Shore. And I was like, they couldn't even speak, but I was just throwing out the little pockets I had from like Spanish 2, and they loved it. And like, and so I think I realized
they do love it.
Friends. made
That's
more friends, and then
yeah.
all of a sudden I started studying abroad in high school. Her name was Sally. Just kidding. But I studied
Studying
in
abroad.
I studied
I don't
I
have any
studied
sound
in
effects. I would use the
Argentina.
drum one if I did
I
have
know,
it
right?
queued up.
I studied in Argentina in high school, which was a really cool opportunity I got junior year. And then I studied in Spain in college. And that's when I finally felt like it took, you know what I mean? Beyond
Yeah.
just like the Argentina I wasted. I was 16 and it was the first time I was out of the country. So spoke too much English. But it was just kind of cool. Something that was different. I was in
Yeah.
from a small area. Nobody spoke Spanish. We barely could handle English. So it was just, it was cool for me to like, just do something different and get out of
Yeah.
that area, get out of the area. And so I think if you don't use it, that's why I can understand
Yeah.
people say like, if you don't find something that sparks your interest or, I was a big baseball guy. So I knew if I was going to play baseball professionally down the road, I was going to be playing with a lot of Dominican guys and I'd want to be
Yeah.
able to talk to them. And so I had a lot of interests that helped kind of keep me current in it.
A lot of people are you mentioned using it, and you mentioned how like the girls loved when you tried, and I think that's huge. Like the school where I work, like I said, a lot of my kids speak Spanish. Some only speak Spanish. I'm fluent in front of kindergartners. Like I can teach a whole kindergarten class in Spanish. I probably know more Spanish than the kindergartners do because they're 5 years old.
Yeah.
But then when I'm around adults, that's when like the self-consciousness, the anxiety comes in. Like I'll have like other adults in the building will get excited when they hear me speak Spanish to the students, and they'll come up to me and be like, "Oh, hablas español?" And that's when I'm like, un poquito. Like I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah,
try
the
because
imposter
you're going to
syndrome.
use a
Yeah.
word. It's the imposter syndrome. But like if you're able to move past that, I think it is really important as far as like building those relationships, the connections, because it does mean, and I think for me, I have to remind myself, like, it's okay to speak quote unquote broken Spanish. You know how like somebody comes over here from Mexico, we say, oh, they're speaking broken English. And that just means they're making grammatical errors, but like we can still understand them. And for me, as like a beginning, not so fluent Spanish speaker, I just have to get over that and be like, no, as long as they understand the message I'm saying, it doesn't matter if I'm not speaking completely the correct grammar. You know what I mean?
100. Well, so to get nerdy on your language is both is descriptive and prescriptive. So when you talk about like we're speaking more descriptive when we think about slang or not speaking grammatically correct. Oh, how are you? I'm good. Oh, you're not good. You're well. But I knew what you meant. So it's that
Yeah,
same
right.
concept. So we get so caught up in being prescriptive and following the rules. But listen,
Hmm.
when I translate for a lot of the families in our district, I become sort of the liaison of like helping register kids for kindergarten, sitting at parent conferences and translating phone calls home. So I've just done so many of those over the year, and I was so nervous. IEP meetings, I've translated full IEP meetings, like. And you're right. Like you could have that imposter syndrome. For me, the thing that helped me get over it is when I came back from Spain in college. I was a senior at Ursinus. I lived near Philadelphia, and I said to my professor, "I feel like I'm going to lose it. It's like a bike. If you're not riding it, what are you going to do?" She said, "Hey, I have a friend at this community center in Kensington, Philadelphia, and if you know Philadelphia, you know Kensington's not the nicest neighborhood. It's probably the worst neighborhood in Philly, but
Okay.
there's a beautiful." Community center there and that had just been built, and I was like, I didn't know what they were going to ask me to do, sweep floors, whatever. She's like, we want you to teach a Spanish GED class because there's some people taking English classes but they weren't proficient enough to get like chemistry, science, some of the other harder. And I'm like, I can't do that. Like, what are you talking about? And what I realize is what you realize. Like, they're okay. They can understand, even if I'm speaking in pockets of language. I was on the same level as some of them, to be
Yeah.
honest. Some of them, when they were writing, like the letter H is silent in Spanish. So they were writing hola as OLA because they had never read the word hola. They had only ever heard it. So they didn't even realize there was an H in it. So once
Oh,
I got
interesting.
over it and I just started doing it, I was like, oh, they're just so grateful. Everybody's just so grateful when you try, whether it's like a 15-year-old girl or adults or you're visiting another country. It's just a matter of mutual respect. And so that GED class that I taught, I actually developed the curriculum. They got a grant for me to do that. So I even got paid to do some of it. And that was the thing that kind of pushed me into the deep end. And I was like, oh, well, if I could do that, what else? So translating for the district, going into the homes and talking to some of the families. After that, I was kind of like, oh, well, if it's not me, they don't have anybody, or they'd have to do this like language line, which is like so sterile and informal and seems inhumane. It's not very welcoming. So once I realized that and got over it, I'm like, you know what? Just get in there and do it, because you're going to get better every time.
Just get in there and communicate. Build your message. Doesn't matter if it sounds perfect.
The words are very little of the message being conveyed.
Right.
Your eye contact, your tone, your gestures, like that's so much more. I mean, how many times does a text message get lost in translation because we don't hear the tonality of voice?
Right.
Stuff?
I mean, that's how you build the connection there. That's for sure.
So just do it. Get in there and get messy.
Go say buenos dias to somebody tomorrow morning.
Exactly.
I do want to talk about comedy and teacher comedy, because both of us have experience on these teacher comedy shows. You've taught comedy before. Before I do that, though, I want to do some phys ed content here. So I mean, you're clearly a brilliant guy, expert in autism language, but I bet you're not a doctor of tagology. You probably have never studied tagology. That's not a course you had to take. Okay,
no.
Right? Okay. So I get to sound smart now.
That's right.
So PE teachers, we learn how to create tag games based on any theme, any popular movie. Like I'm already working on K-pop Demon Hunters tag game, and I'm going to publish it in the journals. It's going to be peer reviewed and stuff. And my peers, I mean my students, they're going to review it. They're going to tell me if they liked it or if it's lame. So in this segment, it's called Institute of Tagology. I want to know, if there was a tag game based on your life, if there was a game called Jay Yoder Tag and it was played in PE class, what would it look like? What would the rules be? What kind of equipment would you need? Go ahead. Jay Yoder Tag. Or J Tag.
I would want it to be like a combination of dodgeball. Like one of my favorite memories of elementary school was dodgeball. So I would want it to have a component, and I was also big into baseball and like being able to throw. So I would definitely, and I wasn't the fastest guy, so I gotta level the playing field a little bit here. So I would want it to be dodgeball. But there was a form of tag we used to play, like TV tag or something, where like you had to say the name of like a TV show to like be safe. Like I also loved all of the variations on that. So I don't know. Yeah, it would definitely involve the ability to throw a dodgeball at somebody to get somebody in. I think that would be that would be a part of it for sure.
All right, I'm going to cancel you real quick, Jay, because we don't play dodgeball anymore. I'm sorry I'm sorry that you were traumatized by. You may not know that you were traumatized by dodgeball as a child, but that was in fact trauma. I'm being sarcastic. No, we really okay. So dodgeball is not the best, but for as far as tag games goes, I will say I do play tag games, and some of my fans might cancel me for this. I play some tag games where the tagger has a ball, and they can either tag the runner with the ball, or they can throw it. I do let them throw the ball at the person as long as they hit them in the back or the legs. I say back or legs, and that's fine. But I teach elementary; they can't throw that hard. So it sounds like for J tag, we're going to call it J tag.
J-tag.
The tagger has a ball. They run around. They're trying to tag people, as many as they can, right? Taggers just try to tag everybody. Yep. And then the people who get tagged have to do something to get unfrozen.
Yes. They should have to, like, can they give me snacks from their lunchbox to
Absolutely, yes.
Unfreeze?
Absolutely. So every child has a bag of snacks in this game. Except for the tagger.
Yeah, and then if they catch the ball, or if it hits them and before it hits the ground, they say a delicious Italian dish, then I think they should be safe.
Okay.
If they get hit and say fettuccine alfredo before it hits the ground, then I think that they should be safe.
I think, that might be hard with elementary kids. I think you're just going to get a lot of spaghetti.
That little Chef Boyardee.
Sketty. Can you name another dish? No. Oh, no. Maybe lasagna. I don't know.
There'll be the one kid's parents who like have spent way too much time in fancy restaurants. And I'll be like, oh, with the parpadelli, with the vodka sauce. Like,
Rigatoni.
all right, Sebastian, settle down.
Sebastian. Oh my God. Okay. I love that because when I do this segment with PE teachers, they get very technical. Like they come up with like they think about the equipment they have in their closet. And I'm like, no, I want you to get ridiculous with this. Like something. So this game, you don't just need a dodgeball. You need a bag of snacks and you need a list of Italian recipes. That's in your equipment
like a Cheesecake
closet.
Factory menu. I'd even be fine with that.
Factory menu. Okay. This is good. We could spend a whole 30 minutes on this game easily and then do a little throwing assessment afterwards. And then we could do a lesson on nutrition. Hey.
That's right. The food.
Some of those Italian dishes, they're not they're not
no.
super healthy, but they have vegetables. There's spinach in some of them, right?
That's right. Oh yeah, the pasta primavera. That's like that's all vegetables right
Fresh
there.
olive oil, tomatoes.
Yeah, throw some broccoli in that fettuccine. Will be good.
So I first met you on Board Teachers Comedy Tour, and when I first got, I'm gonna ramble on here. When I first got booked on that tour, it was 2 years ago, summer, at the end of summer.
Yeah, it was like Midwest. We did a couple.
Yeah, it was Ohio and Indiana, so not super prestigious spots, but like for me at the time, I know you had spent that whole summer pretty much touring around with them, but like for me at the time, that was huge. But then leading up to it, I wasn't really getting any information. I was starting to get really nervous because I'm like, I don't even know how much time I'm supposed to do. I don't know if like, what's my flight information? And no one was responding to me. And then I reached out to you. I was like, I'm just going to message one of the guys who's also on the show. I'd never talked to you before. And you responded like right away. To my surprise, I wasn't necessarily expecting to hear back from anybody. You were like, yeah, don't worry about it. That's normal. You'll get your flight information. And we all do 30 minutes, but like you gave me all that information up front. So it like really set my mind at ease. So I don't know if I ever got a chance to say thank you for that, but I want you to talk about, because like you were on that whole summer tour, I think, where you went into Board Teachers. What they do theaters now, they're selling out these theaters all over. They're in Australia right now, I think, New Zealand. But back then you were going into comedy clubs. So talk about that. Like you did like a whole summer of that, right?
So I had started with them, that spring. In February, I think I had started with doing the theater ones with them. First one I ever did was the Kodak Theater in Rochester, New York. And that was such a shock for me because, I'd done some local clubs at that point, maybe 200-300 seaters, but this was like a 2,000 seat theater, and that was, pretty much sold out, or 85% at that point. And I remember FaceTiming my daughters when I was on the stage before they opened the doors, and like my 8-year-old was like, "Daddy, I'm scared for you." You're just seeing how big the place is and the space, just so surreal. And it was like, but the fact that it was teachers, and I was nervous because like stuff like a light, you weren't getting a light. You had to kind of know your timing. You had to know.
Oh, right.
I was grateful I'd put a lot of time into kind of knowing my bits and how long each one was to sort of.
Light is for just insider baseball. Light is for all the teachers listening. Light, they literally shine a light in your face when you have, like 2 minutes left, 5 minutes left. But when you're doing a theater, you just have to know your time, which that's really hard. That is intimidating.
We'll have a clock. If we're like, sometimes we'll have a clock either at the base of the stage or off to the side. But like, imagine like as a teacher, like you get the light. So I would love to get a light as a teacher. So I'm like, I gotta, because I always skip my closure because I like get so caught up in whatever we're doing that next thing you know, the class is over. And so like, I would love a light as a teacher. But so
that's good.
And it was
we
just
should have a light.
I know. It was so cool as a teacher. I felt like the way we were being treated as these performers for teachers was the way teachers deserve to be treated. That's the piece. Like, that was the piece that I felt like, you ever see the Key and Peele sketch where they talk about the draft, but it's like teachers?
Yes, yeah. They're doing like the whole, I know what you're talking about. The sports draft. The teachers were treated like pro athletes.
Signed on for 4 more years for $7.5 million. She's in free agency. So it was just this fun way to say, hey, what if we did what we do to athletes to the actual educators of the country? And so I felt like, wow, like it was so cool that we were getting treated to this, and beautiful green rooms and all of this stuff. And but what a great experience to share laughter with with teachers who we know need it, and
Right.
like that, and then afterwards getting to meet some of them, and getting to take photos with them. Like it was just such a cool experience. And it just for me was like, oh, like wow, like I needed it because that COVID really messed me up. Like
Yes.
it really changed the game for me, and how I viewed my life and how I viewed the things I spent my time on. And so all of a sudden I became very careful about how I spent my moments. Like it had to have a certain kind of heck yeah energy or I didn't want to do it anymore. So like there were things for school I was doing for free for years that all of a sudden I started saying to myself, oh, like I have kids now. Oh, I have this. And I just started saying to myself, well, what's important to me? And I think a lot of us probably took an inventory at that point too. And yeah, so like getting to travel and like then they would like fly me into the city. Then we're like bussing around in the van. Like, it was such a cool experience. And I'm grading papers the whole time. Like,
Yeah,
I didn't have
remember
to
that.
drive. I'm used to having to drive. I put like 25
I remember that.
on
You're
my
grading
car.
papers in the van, you dork.
Grading.
That's so
I
true.
just-
When I got on that plane to go to Ohio, I was so excited. I hadn't been on a plane for like the last 10 years because it's so expensive. Teachers, we can't afford to fly anywhere on our salary. And it's true. They do. They treat us like celebrities. And that's a
So,
good point. I
yeah.
never thought of it like that, where like that's how teachers should be treated,
That's right. So I'm doing a weekend coming up. So I'm like, but they're close to me. So like I'm having somebody drop me off at the first venue and then riding around and then they're flying me home at the end of it.
Yeah.
But it's just nice that all of those things are kind of taken care of, and there was one time when I did a show where they had a dropout. So I had to go from school, had taught all day, got on the airplane, flew an hour to Rhode Island, did the show that night, came back and slept, and then by 5 a.m. I was on a flight back so that I could get back in the classroom and teach the next morning. Because it was like the last week of school, and I couldn't technically take off within the last 10 days contractually. So
that's interesting.
I had to be back to teach the next day, and that was tough. I actually got sick after that because it was just a little too much. But
That's interesting about the contract because I was just thinking, wow, I would have called in sick. That is doing
so
too
I mean,
much.
so it just was such a weird thing, and people were gonna know from social media, and like
Right.
know, so it was just one of those things, and I wasn't sure what all this was yet. Like it was a cool opportunity, but like my job is my job. I've been doing this 20 years. I got a pension. I got like this is a fun thing, and I enjoy it, and I'm hoping it'll be a career. I'm actually only teaching part time this past 2 years. So
that's cool.
I've dropped to 60% because I just couldn't manage it all, and I run 2 comedy schools in addition to that. So it just other opportunities came that were paying me just as well and less time. So it was like, oh, I could be here to take care of my girls in the morning, and I get to eat breakfast and stay at home dad for the morning, and then they get on the bus and walk the dog, and then I can go in leisurely and not like my hair's on fire at 6 a.m. because I'm not the guy that gets up and has 2 hours before I go into work. I'm the guy that gets up at the last second and
same.
I run through and I just get there on time. Like that's how I live my life. So
I'm pulling up right when the bell rings, pretty much.
Yeah, so like this has been such a beautiful thing for me. I feel calm. I haven't been double booking. Like I used to double book myself before this, not with comedy, but just with like sporting events and doing all the things and reading the names at graduation and and now I don't double book myself anymore, but I'm just as busy. It all just flows. It just felt like this was a meant to be. So I'm just kind of walking in the direction of the tuning fork. Like it all feels
cool.
good. It's all working. Everything. I'm able to do all the things that I want to do and have to do. So it's like it's been a really great thing. So I'm excited about it. I gave my dates for 2026. So I'm hopeful that I'll get to do even a little bit more because I wasn't given full availability previous years, and now I'm ready to.
Spoiler alert, we're still touring in 2026. You're living my dream. That's my dream, to be a part-time teacher. If anybody in the Chicago area has a 0.6 Phys Ed position somewhere, please hit me up. What is it about teacher comedy? Because obviously the Board Teachers Tour has been going for, I think, 3 years now, still selling out. Like not really any sign of stopping. If anything, they're expanding because they're going to other countries. And I'm sure you've noticed there's like, I don't want to be mean and call them like copycats, but that concept of teacher comedy shows, there's other smaller tours popping up. Other like teacher influencers are going around booking clubs, and they're teaming up with other teachers. So like this whole teacher comedy thing, you don't really see, like there's no firefighter comedy tour. There's, as far as I know, there's no Starbucks barista comedy tour. So like, what is it about teaching that really makes this such an attractive thing that they're able to sell so many tickets for?
Yeah. Well, one, I think that the skills transfer is like, so many comedians having been teachers at some point. I think those skills of reading a room and getting your message across and having a plan, like, I think that lends itself well to comedy. So I think to think that there are so many of those who moonlight as comedians isn't a far cry. So I guess the pool of talent is there. But then I think the other part is, well, we're so stressed as teachers, and
Yes.
we as teachers often aren't allowed to voice like our concerns about things and be the one to naysay. And so this kind of lets the comedian do it for you. So it's like you can send your stories into these guys, and then they get to tell them, or they talk about them on the podcast, or they create these jokes that are super relatable because we're all going through these same things and we need to laugh about it. And so I think teachers
We're saying
in general,
the things they wish they could say.
and I think they just,
that's a good
like
point.
such a cathartic, because nobody else gets it. Like you come home, and if you're like, my wife's a teacher, so I'm lucky. But like if people come, is your wife a teacher? I can't recall.
She has a teaching degree, early childhood education. She's not currently teaching. She's a designer, but she knows she knows the lingo, she knows the stress, all that.
And I think sometimes people aren't necessarily always married to another teacher, and so like you can't even go home because they can't relate to it. So you kind of feel like, who gets you, and so now what a great opportunity to have, your teacher friends have a night out together. So, I imagine a lot of schools are like, hey, let's make it a thing. Let's all go out to the board teachers tour, or let's go out and see these people who are in town doing a teacher's show. So, I think it's a profession that needs laughter. I mean, what comedy is tragedy plus time. And, we've got a lot of tragedy. So, I think this helps us process. So that time component is all about processing our feelings. So I think this probably helps us all realize some of this is the nature of the beast. Let's just release some of this tension so we can kind of get back in there. Cause, some of it's just going to be tough. Some of it's just hard,
I just thought of something scary. So like, we've been talking about how teachers should be treated. What if everything gets fixed and teachers are suddenly treated well? We get paid what we deserve. Will they not need us anymore, Jay? Will they stop buying tickets to our comedy shows? Because I don't know if I like that.
I know. It's well, again, I think it's so. I think that there's
we're profiting off of teachers' misery, Jay. Do you feel bad? I'm starting to feel guilty.
Well, it's shared misery, because that's the other thing.
It's true, because we are. I mean, both you and I are still teachers. So
I know sometimes some of those comedians used to be teachers, right?
Right.
So they're not. Like, I always prided myself on, hey, I'm still in the classroom. I'm still, I'm still doing it. I don't have, like, if you're seeing me on social media, it's like from my car in the parking lot. I'm not pretending a room is a classroom. It is a classroom or whatever. But I think there's authenticity there, that it's a shared profession. So I want to keep teaching as long as possible, even if it is part-time. I know some people are like, oh, I'm a sub. And I'm like, well, first of all, that's a special breed, but it's still not the same, because you get to return the kids like bowling shoes at the end of the day and forget about it.
That's my dream. I feel the same way. Like I don't want to teach full time anymore. I'll do it as long as I have to, but like I would love to get a part-time teaching position. But like I don't want to quit. Like you're saying, like if I quit teaching, like I've been doing this angry gym teacher thing for so long that like it's become part of my act. Like teaching is where I get my materials, where I get my inspiration from, and I love it. Like it's doing the teacher comedy. And maybe you feel the same way. You can let me know. But like doing teacher comedy has made me fall more in love with being a teacher. I don't want to do it full time anymore because I'm exhausted, but like, I don't want to quit teaching. Do you feel the same way?
No, I agree. Because it is. You're like, there's just so many funny things they say. It keeps you on the pulse of things as a parent. It's like, as a parent now, like I get to see like where my daughters will be in a few years, and kind of keep my finger on the pulse of everything. So, like I like that, because I feel like I'm in the know on all the slang, and a huge part of my act is slang, is playing with all the slang and the nostalgia from my era and this era. And I love when I have shows when there's kids or younger people, because I do this game where I bring them up. I bring up like the parent or the grandparent and like the kid, and we play guess. I basically do what I do with Alicia for those videos, but I have a slew of them that are old ones for that I say to the kid that like Alicia, and then I have all the new ones for like Skibbity and 6-7 and all that. And it's just so much fun to see. Like it's just language. We're just playing with the fact that we all have our own lingo. They have their Skibbity. We have our 86753.
What's up?
What's up? Like we have
Real
our,
quick. What does 6-7 mean? Real quick. Just
so
please.
6-7 doesn't mean anything. It's just a fun thing
That's
to
what
say.
I keep hearing.
It keeps coming up. It was originally, I think, and if you talk about, like, you see, like, Philip Lindsay does a lot of the breaking down slang as part of his stuff. But it basically was, like, part of a song that became part of a meme, and it just that's how it kind of got into the mainstream. And so some people had seen it from this guy using it in a song or doing this motion while he was saying 6-7. My guess is, like, he was, like, probably wondering, like, 6'7"? Like, I don't know how tall. If it was a height thing for basketball. It's something to do with basketball, essentially.
I'm at the point where I'm so sick of it that I will only count in Spanish now. If I have to count in my classroom, I will, because 6-7 is not, there's no innuendo there. No, there's no effect. It doesn't register.
Do you know that guy, Principal Lamb? You ever seen his videos? So he did a video recently on it. And I get irked by, like, these are just in my own irks, but, like, the people who put a hoodie on and pretend they're a kid and say it, like, I don't know, I give a visceral reaction to it. But he started the video that way, but I almost didn't watch it, but then I stayed in for it. And he had some strategies for helping teachers, like, how to manage when kids say it, and from administratively, like,
I need those strategies. I made a kid sit out recently. And he got mad at me. He was like, I'm going to tell my dad you made me sit out just for saying 6-7. I'm trying to be funny. I'm like, no. Let me be clear. I did not ask you to sit out because you said 6-7. I asked you to sit out because you said it 9 times.
Yeah.
And the joke wasn't funny anymore. You kids need to learn timing and delivery. Like you get a funny meme and you just beat it to death. That's what Principal Lamb was saying, like setting expectations in your class, like, hey, during class we don't say it, but as a teacher we should build in call and response things. So like, yes,
that's
cultural responsiveness.
If you're counting off in gym class and you're counting off in 7s, then make it part of the class for that part. That way it's an expected time. We all know it's coming. But when I'm teaching a lesson and you can't pollute my airwaves with this because you're just derailing the lesson right now. So there's time and place. So give them.
That's important. That's cultural responsiveness. Like there is a such thing as youth culture. Like the kids be doing their own thing. They have their own culture, and it doesn't have anything to do with necessarily their nationality or their race. That's youth culture. It's just they're all the same age and they're laughing at the goofiest, weirdest stuff that means nothing.
No, I think that's you need to have that. So I like the aspect of saying, hey, we need to incorporate it. So you need to give them a space to be able to do it, and then that way you can say this is not that space. When we're counting off to play tag, when we get to 6-7, everybody can say it. Or the one guy was doing it as a way to get the attention of the class. So like if the class was doing a turn and talk and he needed them back, he would say 6. Or he would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then they would all say 7. So make it a call and response. Make it a part when you're counting off and say that's the space. When I'm teaching,
that's a good tip.
It's a no 6-7 policy. And that's what I saw from his video. And I was like, oh, that's great. It's not out of hand in my class. Like I hear it every once in a while, but like it's not at a point where I'll shut it down if I feel like it's polluting the airwaves. Cause I'm just like,
that's a good tip. Yeah.
They can't
meet the kids where they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take advantage of it. If it's something that'll get their attention and get them more engaged in your class, then why not incorporate it?
Give especially if we know it's something that's harmless. Sometimes we got to ask ourselves and say, like when I was in 5th grade, we would say the word. I went to Catholic school. We would say the word play, but we would say it in the most emphatic and goofy way. And we were like, I don't think we really knew, but like anytime it would come up in a hymn at church or in a reading, like we would all say it so goofily, and like, it was disruptive and it was like
And we had the
distracting.
D-Generation X crotch chop from WW, which
Oh,
that's,
forget
again,
about
that's
it.
something you don't necessarily need to tolerate in the classroom. But if it's something harmless, like 6'7", which apparently means nothing, I think the reason a lot of us have that visceral reaction is because we assume it's dirty. Because
Yes.
it's also very close to 6'9", which was our
Yes.
thing. Like 69 was our inside joke, and that's filthy. You don't want to incorporate
Yeah.
that
Well,
into
it's
your
so funny.
classroom
Like,
management.
and I'm so bad as an adult. Like yesterday, we were playing bingo at the library with my 11-year-old daughter, and they're like, oh, 69, and I'm just like,
You're like, nice. You immediately think,
in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'm like doing
like,
the
what's
six
that,
seven in my
Kevin
head.
from The Office or something?
Yeah.
That was the guy, right? Kevin?
Yeah, exact Kevin. That's
Always
right.
set the thermostat.
Well,
This
and
is
it
getting
came up.
blue.
It came up during the thing because a couple kids were like 12 at the game, and they were saying 6 7, and so I had to just be like, it doesn't mean anything. It's fine. It was a reference to a song and a meme, and now everybody's saying it, but it literally means nothing. It's got zero
It's their
meaning
version of
behind it.
Seinfeld. It's about nothing. Don't
Yes,
freak out,
100%.
teachers. All right.
Yeah,
Do you have time to do two more quick things?
please. Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
because I want to talk about, because in addition to teaching language, you teach comedy, which I think is awesome. I've never taught a comedy class. I've taught a couple workshops. I did take a workshop, but there is an attitude, and I don't know if it's like this on the Philly comedy scene, but like in Chicago and probably in New York and LA, because New York and LA, they're full of themselves, right? No offense to any comic who's from New York or LA, but it's just that's the stereotype. They're very serious about it. But anytime, like if you go into Chicago Facebook group for stand-up comedy and you advertise a class or a workshop, you're going to get at least one comment from a quote-unquote veteran who says something like, that's stupid, that's a scam, you can't teach comedy, you're either funny or you're not, you don't need a comedy class, just go sign up for an open mic. And I disagree with that, but I want to know, like, what's your response to that? Have you heard that before, and what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could. I think the do-it-yourself thing is 100% true and more organic, and so I could see some people having that kind of attitude. But like for example, when I wanted to do it, I was going to an open mic with my wife during the pandemic, and we were just watching because we love comedy. And I'm watching these people go up, 40 people at a time, because it was the only place to do comedy. So we're watching
Yeah,
40
that's an
people do
open
four
mic. Yeah.
minutes and it was just so long, and you're like, oh, I see these people doing it, but like I want to be good, like I want, and just like anything, like I was really good at baseball, but I took some extra batting lessons to just learn the X's and O's and the technique, and
It's a skill like anything else. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
that's how
like
I
it's a
feel.
muscle to build. So it's like, you don't know what you don't know. So, I had signed up for an online workshop with a book. I bought two books when I first decided to do it, The Comedy Bible and Mastering Stand Up. And I liked the Comedy Bible because it gave me things to do, and I needed exercises or things to do besides just write a joke. And then the Mastering Stand Up was this kind of narrative that gave you the insides of the business and the styles of jokes. And it's written by a guy named Steve Rosenfield, who I am now his right hand man. So it's so funny. I like him, the
Oh,
director of
nice.
operations. He's been running comedy schools in New York since 36 years. I mean, Michelle Buteau, Hannah Gadsby, Jim Gaffigan, all these people
Huge.
at
I
some
love
point
Hannah
earlier.
Gadsby. Highly
Oh,
underrated
love. I was just
comedian.
watching Douglas last night,
Yeah.
and Nanette. But like they all at some point took workshops with him when they were real young and early. He used to do like a 1 year course, so like they would have regular meetings for a year. So like he runs these 2 week workshops for people, and I schedule and do all the behind the scenes stuff. And he actually started bringing me on as an instructor. I just did a stories to stand up class, which was a virtual thing because that's a lot of my act is that. And I had imposter syndrome when I first started. I'm like, oh, who am I? I don't have any TV
Yeah,
credits. I've been
I
doing
had
this for
that too.
20 years. I don't, but it was the same thing about when I was in math in school. I was terrible at math, or I thought I was. But junior year, I started going to tutoring at the teacher after school, and I started realizing I knew a little bit more than some of the other kids. Not much, but just enough that I was going to reach down the mountain and pull them up to where I was. And so that's my view of it was like, one, it's going to sharpen my skills. It's going to make me a better comic. So instead of
Right.
being the typical, oh, I used to work in the Catskills for years and now I'm a nobody, so I'm going to teach at the local comedy club. I'm like, well, hey, I'm just one of the instructors. I'm the main guy, but we bring in people who've been comedians who are working in the city to kind of come in and help too, to kind of. And what's cool about that is it helped me see how they process things too. Because that's how I did coaching baseball for years. I loved baseball, but I never coached it. I played high levels, but I never coached it. And it wasn't until I started watching what other people did, and same with teaching, until you start seeing what other teachers do, and kind of, it's that same concept. So because I'm really organized, because I know how to plan a lesson, I knew I would have all of that under control. And I'm funny, so like why
Yeah.
why shouldn't I be doing it? And I'll tell you what, I've run 8 classes over the last 2 years, one every season for 2 years, and we just had a graduation show last Wednesday, and it was just so cool to see it. And there's always like ones that you're so proud of. Like these are people who are just bucket listers. So the course I'm running is
Right.
really bucket listers. It's super cheap. I didn't want it to be cost prohibitive. I wanted, they get like headshots, a video, a show. There's no like requirement bringer thing. And they get 6 weeks of 2.5 to 3 hours. And I even punch up material via email for them during the week if they need it. Not all of them take me up on it, but like you get all of that for $250. Like that's
Punch
a pretty
up
good.
means make it funnier.
Yeah. So if I like,
Send
yeah,
me a
'cause
joke.
everybody-
If I punch it up, here's how to make it sound better. Yeah.
Yeah, some idea, and they don't. It's all about choice. We talk about choice. It's all the choices you're going to make. I can give you suggestions, but you have to make the choice about what you're wearing on there, like what you're going to talk about, how you're going to deliver it. And it's kind of fun because I get to play little improv games with them each week, and things to get them out of their comfort zone and get their brain thinking in punchlines.
Comfort zone is huge. And I think that to me is the biggest draw, the biggest like rationale for a comedy class or a comedy workshop, because like that first, like, yeah, you could just go sign up for an open mic, but my God, how terrifying, especially if you're somebody who, I mean, public speaking, what we do on stage, people, if you look up like the top 3 fears of the American public speaking is higher than death. Like people fear public speaking more than death. So it's scary to just go jump into that ice cold water by just signing up for an open mic. Whereas if you take a class now, you're starting down here. You have somebody there to guide you. You have other people in the class. So it's a confidence thing too.
The camaraderie of the groups, because usually we get I cap it at like 12. I don't want more than 12 because one, the show would be too long. If they're all doing 5 minutes, there's 60 without me giving feedback. So like even me giving 5 minutes of feedback in a 5-minute set, there's 2 hours of our 3 in class. So it does, so it's like you can only do so much, but those group of 12 people become really tight, really close. I do a lot of them sharing with each other during the classes, and and it's cool to see them, and it's less threatening, like you said, to get up in front of those 11 people.
Camaraderie is rare in stand-up too, because we're all solo acts. We stab each other in the back all the time. Like just now, I'm gonna go throw you under the bus as soon as we're done here. No, but that is huge.
It's so cool.
It's helpful.
And it's fun, and like I've really enjoyed watching these people grow. There was one guy I had that, this was my favorite. So it was a girl I had in class my first year when I was student teaching. She's now 30, whatever. So she's married to a guy that they both went to the school. I didn't have him, but he came down with lung cancer, so he's terminal. Like, unless he gets a lung transplant. So they were coming to all the comedy shows because they love comedy. Well, he took the course, but he didn't tell her. He just told her he was going for his treatments every week. And then he would come to the class, took the class for 6 weeks. And then for the show, he sat with her because they always come to the shows. Like they're such huge supporters of me and everything. So they were always there anyway. So it didn't raise any eyebrows. He's just sitting there with the show. And then all of a sudden,
the Walter White stand-up comedy.
Name got called, and he went up and did a great set. And it was so now he just filed for a nonprofit. He's doing a nonprofit through Penn Medicine because he gets his treatment at the University of Penn. So he's doing Die Laughing is the name of his organization. So he just started.
That is hilarious.
Go follow him. His name's Dan Chioda. So and he's like getting comics. I think he's got like some big names coming that like went to Penn, like that are now comics that are like thinking in like 2026 might come do a set for him. Like he's really put all his energy in it. And for him, it was a distraction he needed as he's waiting for a transplant. because he's got a couple false alarms, and so like I can't imagine. And so for what comedy's done for him, it's given him purpose. He wants to leave this behind for his wife, so that when he's no longer here, she's got something to do in his honor. Like, it's so heartwarming, and it's like,
Yeah.
like that was the him taking our class was the push that threw him into this realm now, and he's just so working so hard. Just got a website up, just got all the doing vid. Like, it's so cool to see somebody get that. I don't care if they're going to have a Netflix special. That it's about making connections, like we were talking about earlier. It's about making connections with people. That's why we got to push to speak Spanish with the kindergartners and stuff like that. But like, to me, it's just like I get to make connections with so many people now, and I get to teach, and like that's like what's better, you know? Like,
like if you do it right, if you do it professionally and you keep it positive, it can be very, very therapeutic, and just conquering that fear of getting on stage. I get comments, and I'm sure you get these too, people all the time that are like, how did you get started in stand-up? I've always wanted to try that. And my answer is just go try it. If you can't find an open mic, or if the idea of signing up for an open mic is scary to you, find a class. And everybody listening, if you're in the Philly area, sign up for Jay's class, because stand-up comedy, you got to be careful. Like I said, that's why I said you got to focus on being positive and being professional with it, because you can also develop a drinking problem going into these bars with their 2-drink minimums, and you'll start, I'll just have a couple to ease my nerves, and that's that. Don't do that.
Well, that's the other thing. I talk about that a lot. I asked them to not drink before the show, because those nerves work for you more than they work against you.
Exactly. I figured it took me too long to figure that out. I think it was David Spade who said randomly on a podcast one time, he was like, I like to have 2 drinks before I go up, because if I have 3, then it starts to get into like slurring territory, but 2 is a good number to ease my mind. So that's what I did for like my first couple of years. But what I realized is like, it's not helping me be less nervous. Like, I still get nervous when I'm on stage, but now I just feel tipsy and nervous, and that's not a good combination. So if anybody tells you to drink before you go up, don't listen to that. Bad advice.
And if anybody is thinking about it, like December, I'm helping run the online version for the American Comedy Institute. So it's just AmericanComedyInstitute.com.
I'm going to put that in the show notes. Yeah, definitely.
So we have a virtual one. So it doesn't matter where in the world you are. We have people from like Germany, and like people like during the pandemic, people read his book and then they want to take the class. And so I'm actually co-teaching with him for the first time in December. So
that's awesome.
Special for me, because like this is a guy that I bought his book to start stand up, and now he's asking my opinion on stuff, and I'm like, whoa, who am I? Like, this is crazy. So it's like for me, it's something special to see how I've grown with it, and it's just so close to my heart. I love laughter. I've had a lot of tragedy in my life. That's my new keynote, is all about laughing through the curveballs of life. And that's something that I get to go around and share with other educators. Because if it wasn't for teachers that kind of kept me on track, I could have gone off the rails and wouldn't have been here to do all this stuff. So it's anything I could do to pay it forward is like how I see my comedy, how I see anything. I actually do workshops now for schools bring me in, and I teach teachers how to like, write jokes, or, for the staff room, for the classroom. And, we do a little workshop, teach them how to write some jokes. And it's been a lot of fun too.
And that's another good way to connect with students. We'll definitely put that in the show note. Do you have time to get nerdy real quick?
Sure, let's do it.
All right. So for this segment, I just want to know what you are a nerd for. It doesn't have to be anything traditionally nerdy. It could be just something that's not related to teaching. And I want to hear you get fired up about it, rant about something related to your nerdy topic. So go ahead. The floor is yours. Soapbox is yours.
I'm a huge baseball nut. Like, love, and I'm not stats. I don't care who hit RBIs for the cycle during the waxing crescent moon of September. I'm talking like just the artistry of fielding a ground ball, analyzing the hops, the flow of like getting your feet in the right position so that you're already working your momentum towards second base for a double play or first place. Like, there's just something about it. I used to cook in kitchens, and there's this symmetry there too. Like, if you're on a line or in a food truck, there's some beauty of baseball, that the way it's played and just hitting it. There's nothing better than hitting hitting a ball on a wood bat and just knowing you got all of it and you didn't even feel it versus the time when, it made your hand shake. Like, I just love baseball so much. And then I also love it's a numbers game because that's how life is. You think about with our kids, like, you could fail 70% of the time and be in the Hall of Fame. Like, like I can't have my kids getting 30% on their quizzes, but like the reality, life is about plate appearances. Life is about flushing the last one and getting in there for the next one. And so like for me, baseball's like, is life. There's a great book that I would never as a kid read or do a homework assignment if it didn't involve baseball. As a matter of fact, hold on, this
how can you not be romantic about baseball? Moneyball. Moneyball is one of my favorite movies. That's a line towards the end.
So fourth grade, I moved a lot as a kid. Went to 7 different schools, K to 12. And so in fourth grade, I moved to this public school, and they had us write books. So this was me writing the perfect
Oh, this was
picture.
you? Oh my gosh, people, you have to watch this episode.
And
this is a visual episode. It was
like so funny that I once threw a pitch that was 200 miles an hour.
Love the illustration.
And then we went to Toronto and I pitched 3 perfect games and we won the Phillies won the World Series that year. Now this was 93 and we got our butts handed to us because Joe Carter. But like, my grandfather at the time, he passed away shortly after that, but like he was at all my baseball games. We watched that whole series together. It was like the first time I was old enough as a kid to like sit and watch a baseball game. Because that's the other thing, the focus of it. I loved it. If I go to a baseball game, I take score. I keep score. I tell my wife how to keep score. So like, baseball for me is like life. And I was saying there's a book that the former NYU president wrote called John Sexton called Baseball as a Road to God. And he used to teach it as a course at NYU. And it's all about just the symmetry of baseball and how much it's weaved into life and philosophy. So I used to collect DVDs of baseball movies. I have boxes of like it had to get like so minute now. Like it wasn't like the typical ones, Field of Dreams. I have all those, but then it started getting like Bleacher Bums was this like David Mamet play filmed in the right field bleachers with like Newman from Seinfeld was in it. Like they showed no baseball. It was just the play of the crew that would gather for the games and the personalities. Like that's how that's how crazy it got with people trying to find a movie I didn't have for baseball. So so like baseball. I mean, I just nerd out about baseball all day, but I'm not fantasy baseball. I don't care about the stats. I just love the beauty of the game and just
the beauty, the artistry, the beautiful game. Yeah. So anyone in Europe, Australia, I know you guys play cricket. You're missing out because
the Little League World Series now has Australia. Australia plays in the Little League World Series now. There's even like the Europe and Asia have their own division now. I'm sorry, Europe and Africa are together as one, which is kind of cool. So they always get their butts handed to them. God love them. I love I live near Williamsport where they have the Little League World Series, so I'm glued to it. That's
the
my
important
favorite
thing is the connection. They're playing broken baseball over there.
That's right.
It's like we speak broken Spanish.
That's right.
The important thing is the connection. They're trying.
That's right.
I want to respect your time, Jay. I really appreciate you doing this. We got some good stuff here. And what do you have coming up that you'd like to plug? You have a podcast. We didn't even talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
Jay has a podcast called Jaywalking. Go ahead.
Jaywalking drops every Tuesday wherever you get Jaywalking Life Unfiltered if you're like searching it out on Spotify or wherever. But that drops every Tuesday, and it's just me, kind of like 30-minute episodes of me either by myself or chatting with other people about kind of what's just going on. We just jaywalk, through it and just kind of talk about life and talk about what's going on. And then I also, Jay Yoder comedy on all the platforms. I'm making content and doing a lot of shows. I'm going to, I don't know when this airs, but this weekend I'm going to be in Woodbridge. Yeah. Okay, so the following week I'm going to be with board teachers in
Jay
Brunswick,
was in those places
Brunswick,
and it went great.
Yeah, Springfield, Massachusetts. So I'm going to be with them there. But I'm always got something going on. So Jay Yoder Comedy. If you're a teacher, hey, have me come to your school.
Yeah.
I'll
So
share
Jay
my
does
story
keynotes.
and-
Book him for a keynote, and then if you're interested in trying to stand up yourself, sign up for that virtual class. Or if you're in Philly, go in person. Thank you for joining me, Jay Yoder.
Always
This has
a
been an
pleasure, my
awesome
guy.
conversation.
Always a
I really
pleasure.
appreciate it, and have a great week. That was it. What'd y'all think? This was a long episode, but I think it was good. I had a great time. Did you have a good time listening to it? Check the show notes for all of that information that Jay shared about his website, the classes that he offers. If you're interested in trying stand-up comedy, can't recommend it enough. I mean, who better to learn from than an accomplished comedian who gets paid to tell jokes and an actual teacher. All right, so check him out. I think it's jyodercomedy.com, and then all those links are going to be in the show notes. Give him a follow on all the platforms. His content is great. And tune in next week. Thanks for tuning in this week. Keep tuning in. gymclasspod@gmail.com is the email for any questions, any feedback. Please leave me a 5-star rating. Those go a long way. And keep tuning in, y'all. Keep sharing this stuff. Let's keep growing this thing. All right? Thanks.
The test will begin on the word start. On your mark, 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 mark. Get ready, 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 start.